And earlier this year, the SMSF Toolbox was launched by SMSF Alliance. And David Busoli from the SMSF Alliance is here today with me to talk about the Toolbox. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Darren. Pleasure to be here.
So perhaps we can start by you telling us how the Toolbox operates and what difference it brings.
Well, I've been in this sector for a long time, and SMSF administration as a service hasn't really changed much. Sure, there are between different providers, there are different levels of expertise, different levels of efficiency, cost, but at the end of the day, the service hasn't really changed. And what I thought, well, when I look at a set of SMSF accounts or an SMSF context generally, I see a number of potential opportunities and alerts. They mightn't be real because I don't know the client's intrinsic detail, but I do know what I see in the fund. And also, I can wrap around that the vibe.
And how about you?
Because I've been around for so long that it's not just technical, legal and other aspects like that which create a circumstance. It's also those non-specific things which you learn over the years.
Yep.
So what I thought was I could do something here which could ratchet the SMSF service up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I've developed an algorithm which analyses all of the fund data on all the funds that we administer.
Yeah.
And it takes into account not just the legal, technical aspects, but also the vibe.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of that, I've brought out a couple of dozen different purposeful insights. They're not actually recommendations by any means, but they're purposeful insights. And these purposeful insights are presented to advisors because, I should add, we don't deal with direct trustees, so we're only a wholesale service. So they're presented to advisors to support particular ideas. And we might say, okay, here's this particular opportunity. And if you want to look at this a little further, here's all the data that surrounds that opportunity to make sure that you've got all you need to join that with the information you know about the client to determine whether or not it's actually a strategy or something to talk about.
Yeah.
So we might say for this particular opportunity, it needs preservation components, all the member account details, it needs tax components, contribution, pension details, what have you. Whatever it needs, it's all there on a platter.
Yeah.
In addition, there are white pages and calculators if necessary. So what we've done is we've moved SMSF administration from just let's produce the tax returns and the accounts to a situation where advisors can actually use it to add real value to their service proposition. Yeah. And I'm not talking about investments as such. I'm talking about all of the other surrounding legal and technical aspects.
Yeah. So if we look at some specific detail, obviously pension drawdowns are a very important thing because of the ECPI implications and that sort of thing. The facility can help with better strategizing drawdowns, can't it?
Yes, and some of these things are fairly basic, actually. It's more the presentation of them which makes them easy. For example, just prior to the 30th of June, I alerted those people who hadn't taken action on this for their clients to see that everyone met their minimums. But on any day, the data is all there available to show every pension, every amount that should be paid, every minimum, every maximum, every over the minimum. And so in that respect, that data is available, but it's also available in piecemeal format from other systems as well. I suppose more importantly is what happens in July, because in July, we now go back and see what last year ended at. Yeah. And we'll say to our advisor clients, here's a fund, here's all the pensions in that fund from all the members that have pensions and all of their accumulation accounts, and this is the amount that they went over the minimum. Now, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to take that as a lump sum drawdown from an accumulation account? Whose accumulation account? Do you want to take that as a commutation of the pension? Which one? All the tax components are there. Because we do monthly T-bars and the like. So, it's not just the toolbox which creates this service, but it allows us now to actually maximise the position from a ECPI viewpoint for last year.
Now, in the industry, I think there's a growing trend. We're seeing a lot of court cases around the challenging of death benefit nominations and allocations. Now, the Toolbox has got a great facility in terms of the data matching facility I think you've got. How can that sort of help in that area?
Look, we attack that from a number of different angles. Firstly, we do an automatic matching of trustees and trustee directors to members, and we produce an alert if there's a mismatch there. That doesn't mean it's wrong, but it means it's something we should look at. We also read every deed. So not everything is an algorithm. We look at every binding death benefit nomination, and the Toolbox will throw up and say, we think this deed needs upgrading, or your binding death benefit nomination is ineffective, may not have been witnessed properly. Quite often, actually, we see a non-lapsing binding death benefit nomination attached to a deed that doesn't allow it. We do all those matches, and that also comes out in the Toolbox.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're still working our way through the super reforms, and obviously total super balance is another area of not contention, but something that people are having to get their heads around. The Toolbox can lend assistance there as well, can't it?
Yeah, what we do is we do a number of things, but the one I think which is the most powerful is we look at those people who have missed out on 100,000 non-concessional contribution this year, eligibility that is, this year, because of a total super balance at the 30th of June. Last year, a little bit over 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. And we look at how we can actually change that, because you can retrospectively change the valuations from 30th of June. So we'll identify assets that we think we can reduce. We can also, of course, move a little bit of the balances around by using a spouse contribution splitting. So we'll identify all of those members who are in that particular circumstance that have made a contribution the year before last, which last year we can now split to their spouse because we haven't done the accounts yet. Yeah. So there are activities there. But I'd have to tell you that we do have a problem with data that's not fed from the ATO, by the transfer balance account and the like. And I know that the ATO say that this is a privacy issue. I think it's more of a systems issue, because we've got the permission of the clients to get it. And until such time as we can get that, I can tell you that anyone, including ourselves, who does anything to focus on this particular area is going to have a potential for an intrinsic error.
Yeah. Now, it's not all about just throwing up suggestions here, there and everywhere. Appropriateness of circumstances is also taken into account, isn't it?
Yes. Well, firstly, we can only produce these purposeful insights based on the data we have. We then require the advisor to fill in the gaps and determine whether or not it's worthy of a strategy. But we do a lot of we do focus a lot on particular demographic of the member base. For example, in future service benefit and untaxed element, that requires that some